Alright, this is going to be a slightly different form of my battle breakdowns. This was suggested to me by Brandon Yates, whose music will be used in the video, and I'll put a link to it in the description. Rather than take a pre-existing fight from an anime or movie or something, and figuring out how it translates into a D&D sense, I'm going to take essentially just a fan matchup, similar to what Death Battle does, only instead of using all examples of their powers and media and whatnot, I'm going to be using my D&D builds, and we're going to see who would win. This particular matchup, as you can tell from the thumbnail, is going to be between Fuhrer King Bradley from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and Solidus Snake from Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Both characters will only have access to what they have in the builds that I made for them. There will be no special equipment, unlike in my previous builds where I'd give them magic items or anything. I don't think that these two require anything. Really, the only thing Bradley might even have would be like, I don't know, foresight cast on him by Father, but that's not going to happen. So let's set the scene. The story begins in Amestris. The Sons of Liberty have infiltrated the country and are thought to be under contract from the northern nation of Drachma. George Sears, codenamed Solidus Snake, has dispatched his compatriots to different locations throughout the country and has chosen to personally undertake the most important task, the assassination of Fuhrer King Bradley. He has been scouting the target for weeks in the capital of Central City, waiting for the most opportune moment. But what he doesn't know is that Bradley is aware. And Bradley has grown tired of this additional shadow. On this day, he has made a point to slip his entourage of guards, as he often does. But this time he makes his way towards an abandoned building, passing through many alleyways and shadows. Solidus doesn't hear him mutter, "Stay put, Gluttony. I'll handle this on my own." Solidus enters behind him, thinking fortune has smiled upon him, giving him the perfect opportunity to finally take out this aged politician. He's surprised to find Bradley, combat ready, a sword in each hand, fully ready to face him. Solidus smiles, somewhat glad that this won't be the simple matter he was expecting. He draws his own swords and steps forward. The battle begins with the two combatants 50 feet apart from each other. Unlike my previous battle breakdowns, I won't be using dice averages. In those, I just assume each roll is basically a 10, and in my Vader vs. Luke battle breakdown, I averaged out how often they would critical, and I used that as well. In this one, I used actual dice rolls, so you'll get a real feel for how it actually turned out. Both combatants roll for initiative, both have a +4 bonus, but Bradley has advantage. He's able to get an unnatural 20, while Solidus was only able to get an 8. Round 1. Bradley uses his bonus action to enter into his rage, and then with his instinctive pounce, he can immediately move half of his speed. Combined with his movement action, he's able to immediately close the distance between the two of them. He actually catches Solidus somewhat off guard that such an old man would be able to move so quickly. He uses his action to make 2 attacks, for a 24 and a 21. The 24 will hit no matter what, but Solidus is able to use his shield to block the second attack. His armor kind of expands and contorts, flexing to dissipate the force of the blow against it. Bradley deals 11 damage, and because he's a swashbuckler, he's able to get his sneak attack off for an additional 13 sneak attack. Thank you. Solidus' turn, and he retaliates with 3 attacks, each roll totaling an unnatural 20 and 2 30s, damaging for 7, 11, and 6, but because Bradley is raging, he halves this to 3, 5, and 3. Bradley then uses his own reaction to riposte using his Battlemaster maneuvers. Bradley gets a 19, but Solidus uses another shield. He knows he can't really stop Bradley from getting a sneak attack on his turn, but he'd like to prevent him from getting one on his own turn. Solidus uses bonus action attack, totaling 27, hits again for 7 damage, half to 3. End of the first round, and Bradley has taken 14 damage, and Solidus has taken 24. Not looking so good so far for Sears. Round 2, and Bradley attacks again. His first attack is only an 11 for a total of 21. It is easily shielded, but his second attack is a natural 20, which is usually bad on its own, but it's even worse when the one hitting you has sneak attack. He manages to get 13 piercing damage and 29 sneak attack damage. Using his bonus action, he gets an additional attack. He attacks recklessly again, but only manages to get a total of 22 and misses. Solidus' go, he makes 3 attacks, all at advantage. He makes a 25, 25, and 14. So obviously, only the first 2 hit. Deals 10 and 8 damage, halved to 5 and 4. Bradley once again uses his riposte to try and strike back. He rolls a 28, too high to be shielded. Does 9 piercing damage and 18 sneak attack damage. Solidus uses his bonus action to attack again for a roll of 23. He hits for 7 damage, halved to 3. Round 3, and I think you could say at this point Solidus is probably wishing he didn't try to do this on his own, and realizes he's probably not going to best Bradley in melee combat. Even though he has more attacks, Bradley's sneak attack means that he can dish out comparable if not more damage, but because Bradley's also raging, he's taking less damage than Solidus. Bradley's go, he makes another 2 attacks, both reckless. 28 and 20, second attack is once again stopped by a shield. First attack does manage to get through though, and deals 9 piercing damage and 13 sneak attack damage. Solidus's go, and he knows that he's paying for underestimating his opponent and he needs to start fighting a little smarter now. He activates the accelerator unit in his armor, casting a Chardelon Stride as a bonus action as a 5th level spell slot. He's able to move 60 feet away, dealing 10 fire damage to Bradley, halved to 5. As an action, he drops his Wakizashi and he draws his hand crossbow. 3 attacks, all at advantage. Only 2 manage to hit, and he deals 9 and 8 damage. Halved to 4, and the second attack is halved again because Bradley uses his uncanny dodge, dealing only 2 damage. He can't get his riposte off, he now has the reaction open for his uncanny dodge. Round 4, Bradley uses his bonus action to dash and chases after Solidus. Closes the distance immediately and makes his 2 attacks. Both attacks are reckless. He gets a 22, which Solidus shields, and a 16. On Solidus' turn, he moves another 60 feet away, dealing 10 fire damage, which is halved to 5 against Bradley. He had to eat into his 2nd level spell slots to shield the last attack, so he knows he really needs to try and put the hurt on Bradley. He uses his bonus action for a 2nd one to restore 18 hit points, then he casts Summon Construct at 5th level. I like to think of it as like one of the automated Metal Gear Rays, but sadly it's not going to be as big as that, but it's still cool in my mind. The Ray Construct gets to make 2 slam attacks, both at advantage. Both hit for 10 and 14 damage. 10 is halved to 5, the 14 is halved to 7, but Bradley uses his uncanny dodge to half it again down to 3. Bradley's go, and he's going to try to cut through the construct to get to Solidus. He makes both of his attacks, and both hit, dealing 14 and 10 damage with additional 15 sneak attack damage. But then, because of the construct's heated body ability, he takes 2d10 fire damage back. But because of his rage, he only ends up taking a total of like 3 damage. He uses bonus action for a 3rd attack, dealing 11 damage, taking another d10 back, and it's halved to 2. At this point, he moves around the construct and tries to close some of the distance to Solidus. Solidus' turn, and because he's getting a little worried, he decides to try and do as much damage as he can. But Bradley thought ahead, and he didn't attack recklessly this time. Solidus makes 3 attacks with his hand crossbow. He gets an unnatural 20, a 16, and a natural 1, so only one of his attacks hits, and it's for 9 damage. Halved to 4 because Bradley's raging. He decides to try again, using his action surge to get another 3 attacks. 2 of them hit for 9 and 8 damage, both halved to 4. The Construct Ray goes now, and it slams into Bradley's back, chasing after him. It deals 17 damage, and Bradley then uses his Riposte ability to strike back. He deals 9 damage, enough to finish off the Construct, and he takes a d10 in return, but it's 3 fire damage, halved to 1. Round 6. Now, I want you to imagine yourself in Solidus' position here. You're clearly outmatched in melee combat. You tried to call in some backup, and it looked like this old man just effortlessly cut through it like it was butter. Solidus knows that his best bet is to continue increasing the distance between them and to try and summon another construct. But Bradley goes first, closes the rest of the distance between them and makes 2 attacks. Only 1 hits though. He chooses not to use sneak attack damage on this 1 attack, and deals 8 damage. He chooses to use his own action surge for 2 more reckless attacks. Did I mention that the first 2 were reckless? Oh well, they were. He gets a 26 and a natural 20, rolling 12 damage and 35 sneak attack damage. With his bonus action, he makes another attack, but this one is actually low enough for Solidus to be able to shield using another 2nd level spell slot. Solidus' turn, and he activates his accelerator unit again, this time only using a 4th level spell slot for a Chardelon Stride. He moves 55 feet away, dealing 7 fire damage, halved to 3 because Bradley's raging. He makes 3 attacks with his hand crossbow once again, but Bradley knows that he's closing in on victory here, so he decides to go all out, and he spends all 3 of the luck points that he has to give all 3 attacks disadvantage. Only 1 gets through. He hits for 7 damage, halved to 3 because he's raging, and then he uses reaction to have it to 1 with uncanny dodge. Round 7. Bradley uses bonus action to dash and closes the distance between them once again. He makes 2 reckless attacks, totaling 26 and a natural 20. Total, he deals 11 piercing damage and 40 sneak attack damage, enough to take out Solidus. Now between the 2 of them, I believe that Bradley obviously is the type to fight to the bitter end. If he can make 1 last attack against you, he's the type to catch a blade in his teeth and stab you with it. Whereas I believe Solidus is the kind to, once he's realized that he's lost and he has no more chance, that he'll just accept death. So even if there was anything left he could do to strike back, he's not going to in this situation. At this point, Solidus hits the floor of the warehouse and doesn't get back up. Bradley sheaths his swords and probably puts his eye patch back on. Before Solidus expires, the last thing he probably hears is Bradley saying something along the lines of, "That's some fancy armor you got there," but it's not enough to make up for the skill gap between us. Bradley will then head out to continue his day like he would normally, and send Gluttony in for cleanup. And that's the end of this. You know, oddly enough, I did 2 versions of this, one where I did the average die rolls again, and it also took 7 rounds and Bradley won again. So I feel like the end result seems to be the same regardless, so I enjoy that. Please let me know what you think between me using like average die rolls and just rolling the dice myself. This way takes actually a lot longer. I did record die rolls. I wasn't sure if I was going to use them or not. I still haven't decided, so by the end, when this video is finally up, if I put them in, then you'll know whether or not I did decide to use them. So like I said, please let me know what you think in the comments. Let me give me your opinions on how you think the fight worked. What do you think of this format? If I should do more of it, or if I should just stick to doing pre-existing fights and transcribing them to D&D. So that's all I got to say about this, so I hope all your 20s are natural, and I'll see you next time.